More local news. If you live in Ohio, of course, and you're paying attention to politics, you may or may be a Democrat or Republican. I'm not sure. If you live in Ohio, what do you think about the campaign of John Kasich? I'll say it again. No one man should have all that power. He don't deserve it, in my opinion. But a lot of other folks went out and made him governor, okay, against my better wishes. So he's the governor now, and he's running for public office. And what do you think about this? Should you be able to be the governor of a state like Ohio? I mean, we have a lot of important things to be dealing with right now. And meanwhile, our governor's running around trying to get a better job. I mean, it's like politics is like one of the only industries where you can do that, where you can retain your position. Everybody understands and respects that he's the governor. Meanwhile, everybody understands and respects that he's trying to get a better position and leave us. Everybody's cool with that. And I think it's unfair, quite honestly, to the electorate. I didn't vote for John Kasich, but many people in Ohio did. So I would imagine you want to get your vote's worth, right? You want to get your money's worth. Are you getting it? Should there be a law that disallows politicians from holding on to one position and then running for another? Because you can't serve two masters. Stop it. You can't do it. You can't. Listen, here's what I don't understand about it. If we can deal with John Kasich being a part-time governor for the last, 6-7 months, let's say he moves forward. That means he's going to be a part-time governor for the next, let's say, for a year. If Ohio can survive with John Kasich as a part-time governor, well, then what I submit Ohioans is that we never needed him. If whoever is running things at the state house is running things right from his office, and he's out in New Hampshire, South Carolina, he was in Iowa, and everything's running right here, what does that tell you? We don't need you. You know what I'm saying? Things seem to be moving on quite well without you, John. But I posted this. You can find it on my Facebook page for the show, The Nathan Ivey Show. And it's a link to a story talking about the enormous amounts of money that John Kasich is amassing as he's traveling around the country with a security entourage. This man has a security entourage. And they're saying it could be big money, big money, big money. The Associated Press reports that non-highway security expenditures for the Ohio Highway Patrol have gone from $17,000 to more than $350,000 in 2015. $350,000 for somebody to travel around Mr. John Kasich. I mean, I get it. He's the governor. He's a very important position. I get it. But now, and listen, there's nothing that John Kasich is saying to me. And again, I'm a taxpayer. I pay taxes. I don't want to pay for his security entourage. I don't want to pay for him and his wife to be in South Carolina, but you got to do it because that's how the game is played. Because right now you can be governor and then you can also run for president. Think about this for a second. What if we changed the rules that said, look, if you are currently the governor, you got to make a decision. You have to make a decision. Either you're going to continue being governor or you're going to run for president. You know what would happen? You would have less people putting their name in that are currently governors, mayors, whatever the position may be, because they know they'd have to give up something to actually get something. I mean, in politics, you can have your cake and eat it too. He can be a part-time governor and play this entire thing out. He can get campaign funds that he can actually either give to other Republicans, which gives him influence, or somehow creatively give positions to family members and friends. That's what you can do with your campaign dollars. You didn't know that? It's a big racket, man. It's big. And then if he doesn't win and decides that all indications say that he won't get the nomination or, he won't even be asked to be vice president, which I think he's kind of setting himself up for. All the super positive talk, which I think is a good strategy because people are sick of the negativity. I think it's playing well for him, but I don't really believe it because I live in Ohio. I know the truth. And if you live in Ohio, you know the truth. That a lot of the success that Kasich is running on he owes to the Obama administration. Come on, man. Bailing out the car industry indirectly, and in some cases directly, helped Ohio in so many ways. Extending unemployment benefits allows people to go out there and spend money and contribute to the economy and keep their families going. I mean, it was huge. You know it and I know it. He's a bit disingenuous, and that's the truth. But disingenuous or not, you've got to pay for his security detail because that's the way the game is played. Also, here's another thing that will happen is that what we need now is new energy. We need fresh new energy. I'm thinking about Sittenfeld running for state senator. And look at who's in the race. I mean, whether you agree with his politics or not, you cannot disagree with the fact that if we were saying Senator Sittenfeld, right, as opposed to Portman or even Strickland, that there's going to be a different feel to that because he's bringing younger energy. He's bringing that millennial energy. But there's such gridlock with the old school players, and we've seen that in the way they've dealt with Sittenfeld. So, if you could change the rules, maybe that would open up some more positions at the top, and we could get some fresh, new ideas, some exuberance, right? We can get something that makes sense to people that are living right now and stop getting these politicians who are trying to build a bridge back to an America that never really existed. Not in a good way for me and mine. But what do you think? I'm going to take some more of your text messages. People are chiming in. Where do we go here? Brent writes, they still don't have a project manager for that project. $644 million approved, only 2 black contractors so far. See, that's another racket, the diversity game. As it relates to the city of Cincinnati, not the number one thing, but one of the biggest issues that is concerning Black Cincinnati, if you want to look at it that way, one of the biggest things I want to see from the Cranley administration is just how much inclusion and diversity is he really going to bring? Just how much diversion and inclusion is he going to bring? Is it going to be the same old folks that get paid in the city of Cincinnati? Or is it really going to open the door so new folks, new faces have a chance to eat off the local plate? That's what I want to see. I will tell you that I've heard many interviews from the new inclusion czar along with Harry Black, the city manager. And, in those interviews, and again, forgive me if I've missed any recent interviews in which they've given more concrete numbers, but, people want to hear numbers. It's a numbers game. You're talking about money. You're talking about equity. People want to hear numbers. And I haven't heard too much of that. I've heard a lot of pie in the sky, wishful thinking. I've seen a lot of great photo ops. That is a beautiful thing. I'm not hating against anybody. But, in a year from now, in 2 years from now, I think one of the biggest when John Cranley comes up for re-election here in the city of Cincinnati, talking some politics, one of the biggest ways that we should judge him is by what he said he's going to do. Is the city of Cincinnati going to be safer? Are they going to clean up the hot spots? Am I going to feel safer? That's number one. Because you can give me all the statistics you want to. If I don't feel safer in the streets of Cincinnati, it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. And I'll tell you, right now, there's a lot of people who just simply don't feel safe. Let me get close to you. They don't feel safe. Do you feel safe in the city of Cincinnati? That'll be a number one question as we start moving ahead. Also, when it comes to diversity, when they open up the big books, 2-3 years from now, John Cranley's running for re-election. He perhaps wants your vote. Is he going to have anything that he can sell to you? Hell, are people going to still have a bad taste in their mouth about some of the things that went on? Speaking of the former police chief. But already people are getting over it. I will tell you this about Cincinnati. This is just an observation. And this is just one last thing I want to leave you with. With everything that went down the way it did, it gives a brother an opportunity to really observe. I'm already observing, brother, but it gave me a chance to really observe this city. And I will tell you that there is an element of Cincinnati that is Cincinnati's worst problem. And I'm talking about Black Cincinnati. There's an element, and it's a really high element. And I'm going to talk more about that. As I said, there's various folks that need to be called out, and I'm just the man to do it, one by one by one. And I will be inviting local folks back into the show. I want to hear from local people. And as I said, I'll be out in the streets as well. I want to give you some idea of what you can expect. As we get closer to the summertime, you have the NAACP functions. You got very, very many big issues that need to be discussed. We still have issues of criminal justice in the city of Cincinnati that have not been resolved. And it just seems like some of the voices who are out there front and center, you don't hear from anymore. You just don't see them anymore. And I don't know if that's paid off, bought off, laid off. I'm not really sure what it is. It could be a mixture of all of them. But now I have the flexibility to name, well, always did actually. But now I even have more flexibility to name the names, to expose the games, right? To finger point the lanes. More of your text messages though. Kevin Newman, a.k.a. O.J. Hancock. Have a great day to all the Team NI family. Stay safe and spread the word about Team NI to all your Facebook friends. Thank you very much. What else? James Rice. Yes, and they should be forced to finish their term out before running for another seat. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I have nothing against John Kasich. If you want to run for the presidency, go right ahead, John. I got nothing against it. But as an Ohioan, I deserve for my governor to be there. And I know that's the way the game is. I mean, some people have said the same thing about Sittenfeld. As a matter of fact, it was a member. It was David Pepper. He called out Sittenfeld, said, hey, here you are running around the state. You should be back at home. And fair or unfair, I thought it was a bit unfair because he was the chairman of the party. But fair or unfair, I mean, that's up to you to assess for yourself. But obviously, it is something that people have brought up before. I think we should, in Ohio, we should be different. We should be special. In Ohio, if you want to run for an office, run for it. If you currently have office, you have to give it up. You have to give it up. Now, whether that means that the party will decide who takes the place, your place, or there's some kind of runoff election, whatever the case may be, I think it'll allow more voices to get a chance to be in the hot spot. Jill writes, I'm thinking that Kasich is useless. He's losing the presidential race, and the state is doing fine without him. Yes, it is. We got a part-time governor, and the lights are still on. There's no lead in the water, at least not that I know of. The sky hasn't fallen. So if we can get by without Kasich for, a year as he campaigns to try to get a better job, we never needed him. We didn't need him. Dahar writes, like the lady that hit the child, she doesn't feel safe. Shaking my head, right. Don't get me started. How do you hit a child? And this story that we talked about yesterday is all over the local news. How do you hit a child, take off, and then claim that you didn't stop because the neighborhood was too bad? So what the subliminal underlying message is that in certain neighborhoods, the rules don't matter if you're not from that neighborhood. Like if you're from a ritzy neighborhood or a neighborhood that has if you want to call it, better reputation, speaking in general terms here, not necessarily my personal feelings, but keeping it real with you, and you travel to a neighborhood that has a lesser reputation and something happens and you kill somebody and you got to drive off, it's okay. Absolutely crazy. Letty writes, Nathan, are you aware that Marshawn McCarroll, a young activist of Black Lives Matter, committed suicide at the Ohio State at the Ohio State House on Tuesday? I posted on my timeline yesterday. No one's talking about it. No media coverage at all. Have you heard about it? Yes, I have heard about it. And I'd like to more details about it. Was it really self-inflicted? Was he dealing with some issues? Because that's what it sounds like. Suicide is one of those things that the people who are left wondering why. Brent writes, Kasich is trying to move unemployment benefits from 26 weeks to 12 weeks. Now, what kind of sense does that make? I cannot corroborate what Brent is saying. I got to check it for myself. But I know Brent to be a stand-up guy. Let's assume for a second he's right. What sense does that make? Why would you want to cut unemployment benefits? And you got so many people who find themselves unemployed, typically in some cases through no fault of their own. And then they've got a family to support. Makes no sense. And get it. They were trying to do this at the height of the Bush financial collapse, when you had so many people who are out of work, and they did it because they were trying to bring the Obama administration down. It was nothing more than that. John writes, where can we donate to the cause, Big Nate? It's mandatory that we keep this going. Well, at this point, I don't have anything on my page, which is currently I'm working on Generation 2. You always